Well,
It's
welcome
December. We've
everyone.
got Dr. Eddie here.
Yes,
Welcome.
yes, I am here. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad all of you are here today too. And we have another episode of Getting to the Other Side. And today we're going to talk about an article that I published last week, and some of you may have had a chance to read it. I'm sure many of you did not. Tammy was kind enough to review it ahead of time because, again, as you know me, I'm always, looking to put my finger in the middle of controversy and but I think it for good. That's what I'm hoping that it's going to do. It's going to actually help to start to bring people together. And, I went through and I started thinking about, what are those questions that a person who's been betrayed often asks? And basically came up with three. And one was, um, what kind of relationship did we have that allowed you to go and do this? The second one was, what were you thinking about when you were engaged in your sexual behaviors, whatever they may have been? And third, what were you thinking about me when you were engaged in those sexual behaviors? Now, Tammy, I mean, are those questions that, I mean, you run many groups with betrayed partners. Are these questions that are often, brought up?
Absolutely. And I think it's so hard for betrayed partners who think a certain way. It's hard for them to wrap their minds around, how an addict brain, thinks and is different. So I really appreciated that you were willing to, get into the muck and start addressing those things. And yeah, it won't be answers that everybody wants to hear. Everybody wants like there's a happy little answer, but I think you did a great job with the article, about breaking this down. Now, anytime we're doing this is general information and situations. Your situation may be a little bit different, but we hope that these resources are helpful for you, that you can glean some information that you can apply.
Yeah, and I actually even mentioned that in the article, I think, if I remember, and it was the idea that, you know what, it may not apply to you and that all circumstances are different, but there are trends that we see very, very often with this. And the one is along the lines of, again, if you love me, how could you betray me? How could you do that? Well, you know what? There are answers to that question. They're not neat, um, well trimmed, you know, answers that you're gonna love. They're not. I wish they were, but these are the answers. And basically, if you look at it, there's three factors that are involved. One, the person who you selected as a partner has an addictive brain. Two, the person that you selected as a partner has a compulsive disorder. And three, most likely the person that you have selected is emotionally undeveloped or underdeveloped. Okay. Those three factors that we see, what that leads to is ongoing, continuous poor decision making. Something that started way back when they were younger. Okay. Which again, trying to cope with the problem they had, trying to cope with the emotional distress that they can't sit with, we wind up here. So again, Tammy, we look at this. Do you think that betrayed partners have a good understanding of the depth of the brokenness that their partners have when it comes to brain chemistry and how it winds up impacting the way that they think, feel, and act?
No, especially early on, because their brains don't think that way. And so they can't wrap their minds around, and it feels so personal. I think with education, and that's part of what you're sharing today, they can learn. It still is hard to have it be something that I automatically go, oh, that person's brain is different. They have some brokenness. It will. I think those feelings will automatically come up first, and so being able to process and go, wait, let me think. That person's brain thinks differently is, is something that takes some time to, to get to that point.
Right. And and again, we're not using this as excuses. We're just explaining. Again, you have the question, why? Well, this is the rationale for why. Still, the first time somebody starts to go down that pathway where they're going and looking at utilizing some sort of destructive sexual behavior, they should be able to stop. They can stop them and say, no, 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 I can't do this. This is not what I should be doing. I can't betray this person, and then be able to go seek the help that they want, and they don't. They don't. And what they do is they just continue in lockstep with all of this. So I mean, so you look at it, what the addictive brain, again, the dependency on, dopamine as well as other neurotransmitters that are being produced in large quantities that are also going to drive those urges and temptations that come. You have the compulsiveness, which again lead to the uncontrollable actions, right? And then we have the being emotionally undeveloped, which is going to lead us to make callous decisions because we're going to be more inwardly focused with that. So we look at the first question. The first question was, what kind of relationship did we have that allowed you to hurt me? And again, I know people don't want to hear the answer, but the relationship definitely wasn't what you thought it was. There was something wrong in the relationship. And because you're married to someone who, again, has these different disorders that are going on. Something wasn't right. And you may have even picked up on the fact that it was something that not correct. You can't really put your finger on it. Maybe they seem very distant at times. Maybe it's like every time they wanted to touch you, all of a sudden they wanted to be sexual in that manner. Um, but obviously, what happens is that the betrayer doesn't fully invest 100% in a relationship because they don't know how to. They don't know how to. They do the best they can. And that's very unfortunate. That's very sad. I mean, so Tammy, throwing it back to you again. And by the way, we haven't rehearsed any of this. We're winging it.
We never do.
We never do. What do you think about that whole idea? I mean, it can't be something that many women really want to hear, of the fact that, oh, my relationship wasn't what I really thought it was at that point, but it wasn't.
No, when you were talking about the person you selected, I wanted to, well, my thought was, I don't want any of you going, what's wrong with me that I selected this person? Because that's another trap that partners can fall into. Like, you found somebody that you love. You were, examining all the, why did I pick this person or whatever, less useful than how do we move forward. So I think, what Dr. Eddie is providing is, here's some different ways that we can move forward, that we can look at this, that will help us have the space to get to the other side. And several of you have put questions in of where you can find the article. We promise we'll give you links, to all of that. So hold on to that. But yeah, like, this is painful for partners, and there's hope and healing, regardless of what he does. So
And
buckle
that's
in.
that's the purpose of all of this.
Yes, exactly.
I don't put it out there to wind up causing more scarring for anyone. I do it because I want you to really look at everything through a very clear lens. Because let's face it, between the gaslighting, the lying, the deceit, the lenses are very muddy. And not because of anything you've done, it's what they have done. So I'm trying to give you very clear vision of what could potentially be part of the issue. So we go to question number two, and that's the idea of, what were you thinking when you were acting out in a sexual manner? And again, this is a real short answer for this one. Okay. They were just focused strictly on escaping the emotional distress that they were dealing with or the emotional discomfort, and they were focused on escaping from that and the physical stimulation that they were getting. If you're looking for other aspects of it, you're going to be very hard pressed to find it. I mean, it is that they use sex to avoid emotional discomfort. And when they do that, they block out everything else. It's like nothing else exists for that moment. So again, and think about it even on your own, in your own life, maybe. You ever get caught up in your phone and you're scrolling, whether it's social media, whatever, and then you get done and it's like, oh, what? I mean, you get lost in the world, and that's what happens. They get lost in that world. So I don't know, Tammy, what do you think about that idea?
No, what were you thinking? Most of it, I wasn't,
It
like it
wasn't.
is that compulsive, like, I often say it's a maladaptive coping mechanism. I am so focused on, the acting out. We talk about being in the bubble. Like if it's I'm going to the place, they they don't even remember the drive there. Like so your brain is literally offline for any kind of real thinking. It really is that compulsive part. So again, partners struggle to understand that because they wouldn't do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the third question was, were you thinking about me when you were engaged in any of that? Um, that, and again, I could understand because the thought is, well, if you thought about me, that should have made you stop. And I would agree with you in many cases that if they can get to that point where they start thinking about their partner, their spouse, that they probably would say, "Oh, wait a second, stop. I can't do this. This is not, the right thing." However, this is where, again, where we put things in compartments and where, again, parts of the brain shut down. That part of our life is just doesn't exist. It's offline completely. And now we're just zoned in here, where, again, this is our escape. And this is where the stimulation, this is where all the activity, now the addictive brain kicks in, and the pleasure zone is highly active. And therefore, again, you take a kid into a candy store, okay, or a toy store, right? They're just kind of lost. There's so much of that stimulation that's around them that their brain get off line also. I mean, I'm sure they're not even aware of what's really going on around them, except to turn her back to you at some point to say, "Can I have something?" I mean, that's about it. So again, the idea of, if a partner were, when they were engaged, thinking about, if thinking about their partner, I think it would cause a lot of chaos within them, and therefore probably hinder their ability to act out. I don't know, what do you think, Tammy?
And I agree, and that's why I know for sure that the compartmentalization. I say everything is siloed, and as long as those silos don't touch, they're fine, and can continue. This is one area that I actually think partners can understand a bit, because many partners are like, I have to compartmentalize. Like I have, a family to run. I have work to do, so I have to kind of set aside, all of this other stuff, and perform in this way. So it is one area where I think they can get a glimmer of compartmentalization. Not, I mean, in that case, it's like, just to survive. But I think they can understand how it's compartmentalized in a very different way. But that you are absolutely able to set aside something that is like, I can't deal with this right now. So, and for addicts, yeah, it's absolutely. I don't want those silos to leak into each other, because then I won't be able to act out, like, oh, then I might feel guilty,
Correct.
and I don't know how to live life without my compulsive behavior, so I don't know what I would do, you
So
know.
you have to remember, if the partner comes into the equation, now all of a sudden the neurotransmitter activity is going to get altered. And so therefore that production of dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, gamma, it's going to start to decrease because again, the reward system is starting to shut down and come offline because of that. So again, when you're asking the question of, well, were you thinking about me or why didn't you think about me? Again, that's going to derail the whole purpose, going to derail their desire that they need to be able to escape from that emotional distress. So again, I get the bottom line is, and I kind of ran through it pretty quickly, but the bottom line is, I think that, I understand the hurt and the pain. I understand your desire to fully know the depth of what went on. I get it. Makes sense. But I also think that if you have a partner who seems to be changing, who seems to be connecting, who's remorseful, then what I would really suggest is that, you continue to do your work and that together you look for ways that you can move forward versus backwards. Because there's nothing back here. There's nothing back here. And I also understand again the idea of, but how do I really know? None of us have that crystal ball. I would just hope that the person who's hurt you, that they are honest enough to be able to tell you, look, you know what? Yes, you can take a chance on me again. Or you know what? I still got a lot more work to do. And I would hope that if you are the betrayer, that you would be honest that way. Let them know. Don't leave them in the dark. Where are you? Where are you in your recovery? Where are you in changing the type of person you want to be? Where are you in your development of integrity? Be honest. Share it. Even if it's not something they want to hear, at least they'll appreciate the fact that, wow, at least, okay, I know where I stand. Because the last thing we want to do is allow the betrayed to bring you back into the fold and then you hurt them again. That we don't want. So that's why I got.
I was thinking when you were talking about that, I hope they say both. I hope you're willing to take a chance on me, and I have a lot more work to do on me. Like we don't ever arrive, like
No,
we
never.
always have more, so, and it's a massive red flag to me when I hear someone going like, I got this, or they're always sharing, I'm doing good, I'm doing good, I'm doing good, I'm doing good, I'm doing my work, I'm solidly in recovery, like I'm sorry, as a human being, we have stuff, we have days that are, not as good or not as fun.
No.
Yeah, I'm a little under the weather. Guess what? I know that my bandwidth for acting like a real grown up is going to be a little impacted if I'm, feeling that way. So it's not owning where we're really at. Like you were saying, I hope that they're willing to share where they're really at. Me too. And yes, I hope you're willing to take a chance on me, and I will do my best to show up, truthfully. That's a huge step, forward in a different way for a relationship.
Well, it's also a big step in the right direction for those who have been locked in this addiction. The fact that I can be so transparent to be able to say, you know what? I feel like I'm making progress. However, I'm still not sure I trust myself yet. So therefore, the last thing I'm going to do is ask you to trust me. I I think that's bold. I think it's also compassionate in the fact that you're gonna not open them up to, think that, oh, everything's fine and it's not. So again, it's being real, being authentic. Because let's face it, the last thing any of us who have been, on the betrayer side have been is authentic. We don't know what authentic is. We rarely even knew who our real self was. Now, hopefully we do. but that has to continue to play out. So
Yes. And I will tag on to that, but then we're going to get to questions. But if you would also find your article, like the links to the article, and share those, because I know you sent it to me, but I've got just a Word attachment
yeah,
that I could find quickly.
they can go to sexuallypuremen.com,
There you go.
sexuallypuremen.com, and they'll find a
Did you
copy.
post it on your Facebook too? Oh, no,
I
never mind. Never mind.
No.
It's all good.
Mm.
Okay. Because I was thinking I knew I'd seen it, so
You might have
it's all
seen
good.
me say that it was there. It probably
Oh,
went
there you
and
go.
sent a
Okay.
notice to it from there when it got linked.
All good. Okay, so there's the answer to that. You can find the article there. You can always email me, Tammy, Tami at seekingintegrity.com, and I'll point you in those directions too. But you got the information directly from Dr. Eddie. So we have questions. So we're going to start with the hangover questions, or do you want to start with the new
Let's
ones?
start with the new questions. Let's
Okay,
do
thank you.
those first,
Okay.
okay?
All right, that's what we're going to do then. So thank you for being here, Dr. Eddie and Tammy. The betrayed partner, am finding it unhealthy to be in touch with my partner, separated but have communicated a lot by phone, because despite the numerous classes he has taken through Seeking Integrity, abstinence, and his recent involvement with a 12-step, the lying has been consistent over time. He is certain he has not lied for the past 2 weeks. I do not feel that he is clear about what it means to honor promises, honesty, and me. I am in my own SAL 12 step. I love him, miss him, and I feel sad about my need to detach for the sake of protecting myself. His promises and truth telling feel lacking of the sanctity I believe they deserve, and the sanctity of honor, respect, and protection that I deserve. I don't want to walk away for good, but the lack of truth and honor is causing crazy making in my mind, heart, and well being. Would you please speak about the struggle? And she adds, P.S. He comes clean on the lying only when caught, even about minor inconsequential things.
Yeah, again, what's at the root of all that? Anxiety. It's anxiety and fear. And whether it's fear that I'm in trouble, fear I'm gonna disappoint someone, there's many different things that can be there, and that's what has to be addressed. You have to work on that. In fact, actually, I had a client reach out to me yesterday, him and his wife, because again, he got caught in lying. And it seemed like it's like a 2 week trend, you go 2 weeks and all of a sudden it's about the little stuff, the little things. But therefore, if I can't trust you with the little, how can I trust you with the big? You need to figure out again to be able to go in and deeply understand, why am I so fearful to put the truth out there? Because that's what it's about. And again, I understand that for some guys, it's, the idea that, well, if I tell the truth, she gets upset and she rages at me. It's like, you know what? That's again the pain that she's going through. But my guess is also after you tell the truth and she calms down, she's probably going to acknowledge that and say that, I'm glad at least you were honest with me. If you're not honest, you know what? You're going to get it anyway. So you're missing, but you have to understand and you have to go more to the root of and answer the why question. Why is it that I am so fearful of telling the truth?
And I caught the and recent involvement in 12 step. The 12 step is, you do a searching of fearless moral inventory. That's step 4, and you share it with in step 5. But steps 10, 11, 12, sponsors, hopefully he's got a sponsor, invite their sponsees to start engaging in that. And that's, we do a daily, and sometimes multiple times a day. The 10th step is that we're checking in on things, and are we really honest? But here's the challenge, like Dr. Eddie was sharing earlier, like it's the addict brain, and lying to ourselves about stupid stuff, like you're saying, that's where it starts, is we lie to ourselves and we believe it. I did type in we have a residential treatment program for guys like him, even if they've stopped the acting out, the abstinence, our clinical team will say, tell the truth and tell it faster. And it's about everything. I mean, because the lying is at the core of this. So he has a lot of, room for growth. And I really honor that you are holding your safe space, that you understand, but you're also understanding that there's grief involved in, in being distant. But you holding that space and going like, I'm visioning us being able to be together at some point, but here's what I need to see from you.
Right.
That's you taking care of you.
And you need to see the consistency of it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And right now it's consistently he's lying. So unfortunately. Okay, D-Day was about 1.5 years ago, and we had another discovery last month. I have a mess. I have a very difficult time setting boundaries and sticking by them. I believe I'm in freeze mode. How do I get out of freeze mode?
Yeah, you're talking about your autonomic nervous system. That's completely out of whack right now. And again, whether you have and I've talked about this before, the ventral, we have the sympathetic system where here is fight or flight, and then you go into the dorsal, and the dorsal is freeze, what you have now. And in order to be able to bring yourself out of it, if one, recognize, okay, this is where I am. Two, understand I don't want to stay here. And then three, okay, what are the things I can do to bring out? One is the best one is first to learn proper breathing exercises. Okay, how do I breathe in a way that will start to calm everything down? Again, we're talking about a nervous system. Okay, think of it as a bundle of wires. Okay, grabbed together like this that run from the base of the brain all the way down into your gut. All right, and the thing is just out of control, and you need to calm it down. What I would suggest you do, if you go to YouTube, there's a lot of really great videos there about the dorsal vagal, the DORSALVAGAL system. Watch them. There's a lot of them there about how do I calm that down. And again, a lot of it through meditation. Yoga is wonderful for it. It is a lot of self-care. You need to provide yourself with self-care. And I know you're going to be, oh, but I just don't even feel like I'm. No, I know you don't. I know you don't feel like you're in the mood to do that. I get it. But the question was, how do I get out of it? And that's how you get out of it is self-care. You have to be able to put that aside and go do what is good for you, especially because again, it was a year and a half, and now all of a sudden, now something else, another month, and I would also work on those boundaries. Very important that you need to work on those. So I'd be with my therapist and learning how can I maintain those.
Yeah, because the boundaries are for your safety. They've got nothing, they're not punishment against anyone else. And so when I hear a partner who's struggling to hold a boundary, what I hear is, I don't value my safety and myself enough that I'm willing to hold that safe space for me. If you had a really good friend, I would wonder what you would be sharing with a friend about how to support them to hold a safe boundary for their safety, physical safety, emotional safety, financial safety, spiritual safety. Like what, if you valued your really good friend, wouldn't you want them to honor themselves and take care of themselves, and have the support? So I would extend, wouldn't you, don't you feel you deserve that the most? Like, and I've shared this 100 times because it was such a good meditation for me. But a few months ago, I read a meditation. If I stand in the middle of a hula hoop, I have control over everything inside my hula hoop. That's it. And so all of this other stuff, this external stuff, is noise. And if I pull it back in, just like Dr. Eddie is saying, what can I do to ground myself? I'm so glad you're here. But what can I do to ground myself, to take care of, of myself? He clearly, hasn't found his, true recovery path. I hope he does. We've got lots of resources for that as well. But breathing exercises, I mean, like grounding, I stick my bare feet on the floor, like, like that can ground me, like, because I pay attention to my feet. okay, well, I'm paying attention to something other than, my brain going, what, and all those wires. When you're talking about the wires too, and like all the way down your gut, I was like, that's why people get, like sick to your stomach and the gut reactions and all
Absolutely.
that. It absolutely is a physical response.
There are so many physical ailments that we have because of our autonomic nervous system being out of whack. Absolutely.
Okay, so the next question, Dr. Eddie, is my SA husband has been using objectifying language in text and phone check ins with his local 12-step group, including his sponsor. He has disclosed objectifying language is often used when checking in potential triggers within this group, referring to women as hotties. Oof, with um, uh, a detailed description of what they are wearing as well as objectifying language. I don't feel safe with him engaging with this group or sponsor, knowing this is common and accepted behavior and language. Is this common in these groups? No, no,
No.
that is not a healthy group. That is not a healthy sponsor. No.
Yeah, I mean, we don't even have to go any further. This should not be happening. I don't understand because immediately when you first started talking, I'm saying, wait a second, how come somebody else in the group isn't speaking up? They're the group leader saying, whoa, guys, this is not right. We're just giving in to our addictive behaviors here. And then a sponsor. So no, I think you need a new group and I think you need a new sponsor. This is completely out of line.
I'm going to put a link to there's a bunch of different 12 steps, there's other programs. And so there you go. But yeah, like I've been in 12 step for a long time. We are never sitting there, fantasizing about all of the stuff that we did, or we're looking on how do we move forward. So this is just keeping that dopamine going and like woohoo, and for the whole
It's
group
like a
or
bunch
for
of
the sponsor.
adolescents have
I
gotten
know,
together.
that's what I was thinking
A
too.
bunch
Yeah.
of
So
13-year-old boys,
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, ridiculous.
Yeah, so that would not be a healthy group. Okay,
No.
follow up to the last question. We are struggling to figure out a way for him to re-enter 12-step group when he has such poor boundaries and a healthy relationship with men, always trying to find acceptance. It did not get that from his father. He attends SI drop-in groups and work groups, and he sees the CSAP, but he wants to get back into his group. I'm struggling to feel safe with him. Any suggestions? So I just sent, so that's a
Right.
follow-up. So check out, there's a bunch of different ones, SCA, SLAA, SPAA. I mean, on and on and on. And interview this, I don't think it's great for a partner to do that, but at some level, like it may be ask the sponsor, are you willing to speak with my partner? Because these, things have been a violation, but he has a CSAT. I would really make sure your words are going to the CSAT, and the CSAT could really be the person to help monitor that situation. At the end of the day, you're here on the getting to the other side. I hope he's paying attention to these webinars too, and that he wants to get to the other side. So what he's doing now hasn't been enough. Again, I posted in the chat, we have a residential treatment program for guys like him who are struggling with that stuff, because at best abstinence, if that's the language he's using, but at best abstinence, because like that to me is, active addiction. If I'm just sitting here talking about hotties and other things, I'm completely not in any kind of recovery. So I'm sorry, but I'm glad you're here. Okay, here's a great one, Dr. Eddie. I get that they don't think of us, but mine was on his way to buy me a present when he pulled over for his girlfriend in sex show, then went out and bought my present. How was he not thinking about me too?
Yeah, well, and he was thinking about you that he had to go out and get you a gift, and then all of a sudden he turned the channel, and he focused instead on his girlfriend and focused there on the sexual engagement. And after he was done, he turned the channel back, and there you were once again. And that's what goes on with our brains and the way our compulsiveness, is there. But more importantly, I think this is more along that emotional, you know, being emotionally undeveloped, that we can just block out everything else and we're gonna focus on what I want when I want it. and nothing else exists in our life for that moment. And I know this is horrendous, it's sad. I feel when I watch this stuff and I think about some of my past stuff, I feel guilty myself, with this. But it's the way my brain worked, just the way it worked.
Can you, because I'm sure you've had clients like this that will like almost be proactive. I'm going to go get my wife a gift because I'm going
Mhm.
to go act out, and then like it's almost like I'm
Oh, getting her something because I did
yeah, and I
something
don't know that that's the
wrong.
case. This might have been a birthday present or something like that. But I have heard of guys that are going like, I'm going to get my wife a gift because like I'm going to show up with flowers and whatever. So that, so I've got this facade of looking like a good guy.
I haven't
You haven't had
seen,
that?
I have
Okay.
not seen very much of that at all. Because,
Okay.
guys act out in many cases, when they come back home, there's still a bit of a distance that they
Mm,
create.
okay.
Okay, it's hard to go back and fully engage. Now, if she says, "Hey, I'm interested in sex," boom, he's right on it. I mean, but again, no, I've not really encountered too much of a guy who, oh, let me go get her something because I feel bad about what I did.
Well, or even on the way to go get it, like, yeah, it's all good. It was more me, doing the, my questioning on to the next one. So we've got plenty of questions, so I won't tangent. Okay, I'm in contact and getting back together with the unfaithful partner. He has really transformed and changed, but not getting it at all, but in progress. Only thing I am not ready to sleep with him, and he doesn't mind or pressure me, but the partner feels bad about it and really want to be more intimate with me. Can you advise on this? I am generally really afraid to sleep with anyone and don't want to.
Okay, so then I guess there's two things here. One, is it that you don't want to sleep with him because you're still grieving and doing your own healing, or we get to the end and you're saying, you know, um, I am in general really afraid to sleep with anyone. So therefore, have you always had intimacy problems? Perhaps there's something there. I'm not sure. Tammy, are you picking up something I'm not?
Well, yeah, because it was the I'm always afraid is different than he hasn't shown himself to be trustworthy. So those are two different things, and one would be a more generic or general.
Right.
Is there something deeply seated with you, or have you been betrayed a bunch of times? I mean, that can be, oh, if this keeps happening.
Or gone through
That
some
the
sexual
partners don't.
abuse or something like
Yeah,
that.
right. Oh, that's true too. Yeah. So,
Right.
um,
So yeah, but to me, it sounds like it's something you have to work through with someone on what is this fear of being intimate with him. Especially if you think, wow, because what you're saying is, boy, he's really done very, very well. And there doesn't seem to be any reason on the betrayal side not to re-engage with him. But obviously, there's something from your past that's hindering that. So I would go and meet with someone and try to do some work with that.
And I would be interested in what are you looking to see from him that would make you want to do. And there's a difference between sleeping in the same bed and having sex,
Oh yeah.
and sex addicts prove all the time that sex is not intimacy. So intimacy can be holding each other, sitting on the couch next to each other, going for a walk and holding hands. Sensate focused touch is very different. It's not so there's lots of tools and techniques that you could be exploring that would put you in contact. And it's also fair for partners to, Dr. Rob says all the time, why would you have sex with somebody you don't trust? So him building trust, but again, what are you looking to see that would show you that there's some trust there? But like you had, he can ask, may I give you a hug? Like, and you have the right to say no. But the other thing when you're saying, and I feel bad, like what I don't hear is that I am advocating for myself, that I need safety and that I don't feel that yet. So, Sleeping with somebody is not them guilting you into it or you feeling bad, so I need to have sex with them. If you guys are both showing up honestly, have the conversation. Have the conversation with each other. If you need a therapist, um, there's sex addiction therapists and there's also sex therapists, and some of them
Right.
do both. So that may be something to explore too. So okay, the next one, Dr. Eddie. I am the betrayer. I can relate to using sex to escape emotional distress in hindsight. In the moment, I didn't feel emotional distress. Maybe I did when I was 5 and it manifested itself as addiction over time to the point where it became subconscious emotion distress or the inner child trying to protect. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, again, you're right. Most likely you probably weren't feeling that emotional distress at the moment. It's there. It is there because it is more subconscious and it lies beneath the surface. And therefore, there's something that has gone on during the course of your day that has triggered your inner child to get upset. And with that, again, like I said, we do a good job, although we are extremely anxious, we do a very good job of being able to repress a lot of our anxiety. But that doesn't mean it's not there. It is. And again, when you think about emotional distress could be something like boredom. That could be a form of emotional distress. So again, I understand you're not locating anything in particular at the moment. And that's why what the inner child model does, it takes the subconscious and it brings it into the conscious realm so that you're very aware of, okay, these are the 6 to 8 different core emotional triggers I have. So if anything goes on during the course of the day that matches up with one of these, my kid's going to get triggered and my distress level is going to increase, whether I recognize it at that moment or I don't.
Yeah, and I think I often say with people who slip or relapse, you do the autopsy on it. You didn't relapse in that moment. It was 2 days ago when
Yeah,
your boss said
great.
something to you or whatever. It like I felt slighted or something good happened at work and I feel like I get to
Mhm.
celebrate and I'm going to take care of me. I mean, so it is rarely this happens and I immediately act out. There's this whole stuff that's going on. I did put in Dr. Eddie's got his new inner child work group starting again after the first of the year. I put the link in, and this is the one that is 12 weeks because they're doing it in 2 parts. You miss half the kids, and so this one made sense to do it as one longer group, and it's limited. There are not as many openings as for some of our other groups, so I'm telling you that so you don't call me at the end and go, hey, I wanted to join now. So okay, I'm a betrayed partner. Discovery was about 1 year ago. We've been separated for about 8 months. He's been working with his CSAT for over a year and preparing disclosure for 4 months. His primary emotion is terror about how I may respond to what he shares. What does that indicate? Thank you.
Oh, okay. So again, what you have is if he's feeling terror about how you're going to respond, what that indicates is that he is more focused on his emotions and his pain than he is on yours. Okay, so again, this goes to the emotionally undeveloped man. And what he needs to do is to work on that so that he doesn't trump you with your emotions, that he understands that, you know what? Yes, she's gonna be upset. She's upset because I've caused pain. I've caused her distress, and therefore she's going to express that to me. I have to, and he's lacking confidence. He has to be able to build that confidence muscle. And so therefore he can be there and whatever it is that you need to share with him, he can take it without, wilting in front of you. So, I mean, that when I look at it, that's probably the biggest issue you have going on here. He needs to just grow up.
Well said. And I'm like, and set a date. Like, I'm sorry, that's ridiculous, that you are left hanging. Again, like Dr. Eddie said, you're, he's thinking about himself. Oh, I'm scared of what she's gonna, say or do, but he's not going, oh my gosh, she has been sitting here for over a year waiting for this. We've been working on, disclosure for 4 months. And you didn't say, and we're prepared for it, next week or whatever. So I would, you know, nothing changes until something changes, and so like you going, I need to see a date and work with your qualified professional so you make sure you've got support around that as well. I'm glad you're here. Okay, maybe off topic. I'm a betrayed partner, but I'm betrayed by almost everybody in my life. It started with my own mother, biological father, all the siblings, to the point where that I'm alone and probably never will see it. And they probably will never see it from my view. I'm healing my attachment wounds, but it doesn't seem to come to an end. Can you touch on this, please?
Yeah, in fact, what I feel, I am, my heart breaks for you. Okay. Um, you're not the first one. You're not the only one who has a story like this. That there's, many, many betrayals that have happened. And I think I shared with this group that my wife and I have just started to embark on another book that we're writing about the inner child for the betrayed partner. And you are, one of the ideal candidates for to look at that, to say, because it is your attachment wound, your past betrayal, that are going to make it much more difficult for you to heal from, again, another person who you put your trust in. And as I said, I'm really sorry about that, but there is healing to be found. There is. But you need to be able to, again, to go back and understand why. Why does this continue to occur? And what happens a lot of times when people, if you grow up in a very negative environment, I mean negative from a standpoint of emotions, that you're not getting not getting fed from a positive standpoint, it's almost that you expect, when you go and you start to engage and meet with other people, you're expecting that negativity to continue. And you may actually even attract people who are not healthy for you. So that's something you may have to look at also. I'm not saying that's the case, but it could be.
Yeah, yeah, I was thinking similarly. Like, I mean, people are people, and we always, even in the best of circumstances, I love my husband deeply, and I will still do things that, fortunately, usually unintentionally, be hurtful to him, and have to navigate that. And I hear you from the family system standpoint. Yes, they would have a difficult time, I'm sure, even being curious enough to have that conversation with you. But you're here. I hear all the time, that people, like Wee Tonglen, there's a whole community of betrayed partners, and they find other people to support, and be on the journey with. So will they show up for you 100%? No. Will you show up for them 100%? No. And you know what? But it still makes progress, moving forward. So I would love for you, our drop-in groups, any kind of community, any kind of places where you can make some progress with finding, safe people, because, there are really, people that are
Yeah.
on a good path and working to
Yeah,
be, trustworthy.
don't give up. Don't give up.
Right, right.
Keep
Yeah.
pushing forward.
Okay, next one. My essay husband had 5 months of sobriety and then started acting out and did not tell me within 24 hours. This was not the first time. This was probably the 10th relapse since D-Day. So I've asked him to move out. Now that we are separated, I feel like I still want to know what he is doing. Why do I care if we are not together? And how do I disconnect in a healthy way but still co-parent 3 young kids? Wow.
Well, I mean, why would you, if if you were to, again, you separated from him for your own safety, okay? Because again, he's not able to be consistent right now, okay? So therefore you separated. In separating from him, why would you not still be concerned about what he's doing? All right? Because again, it's that idea of left in the dark. Go back to when you found out, with D-Day again, right? How long you were in the dark, not understanding what this other life he was living before. So therefore that it's almost it haunts you in a way that you know what he's and what could he be doing out there? However, when you make the decision, you said, look, we're gonna separate. He is going out on his own. This is where again you have to start to bring yourself and you have to start caring more about what's going on with you and your children and not so much him right now. You need to work on getting yourselves healthy, all three of you or four of you, and not him, right? And so therefore it is putting in the time you need to, which is difficult with three young kids, but still being able to put in the time to perhaps do group work, maybe be with a therapist, maybe to do your own meditation, whatever it is that is going to make you be able to, you know, be able to deal with life with or without him. There's this concept of, thriving in a difficult marriage. And the way it works is, you know what? I put him over to the side because he's not healthy. I'm going to move forward with life right now. I'm just going to move, and that doesn't mean I'm going to go start dating or anything. I'm just going to move forward and I'm going to go enjoy the things I enjoy in life. I'm going to enjoy my kids. I'm going to be doing all of that. And I hope that one day, maybe he decides to get his act together and come back and walk beside me. But you have no control over any of that. So therefore, I have to kind of disconnect myself from it. And instead, I have to focus on what it is I need, what is best for me and my children. That's where you should be. That's what I think should be the approach.
Well, and you said this is the 10th relapse he's had, and I'm like, you can't relapse if you're not in recovery. So this is just a cycle of addiction. He may have had some abstinence in there, but you didn't say, and I know it was just a snippet, but he's been doing all of these, working with a qualified professional, doing 90 meetings in 90 days for 12 step. But he's doing recovery work, so things won't get different for him, unless he works on changing that brain of his. And so I agree with Dr. Eddie. You've got enough with three kiddos and you. To take care of, make sure you're really taking care of you. We always say, put your oxygen mask on first. You and your kids, those are your priorities. But this is another thing. People go like if you didn't have children, like if I'm just going to divorce and then the problem will be gone. Well, the addict will no longer be in your life, but we still recommend you do the grief work. You take care of yourself. There still is betrayal. It doesn't just surgically remove the person and all of a sudden now I feel better. No, there's some distance, but there's still all of the emotional stuff to deal with. So of course there's more to process. So, and you will always co-parent. So even if he's in active addiction or
Right.
active recovery, you will co-parent, you will co-grandparent. So you are forever tied with your children. So okay. So what do I do as a betrayed spouse when he is growing up? What does communication look like? We are separated too because he is in early work to get roots of fear and anxiety. When he communicates or is around, I am in dorsal. I can only get out, use vagal exercises, and having space when I'm away. And then when we communicate again, my anger is back and cycle starts over.
Okay. So, a couple things here. One, this takes patience on your part. Because like you said, while he is growing, because yes, he is growing. Okay, I know this circumstance. So, all right, he is growing. So therefore it takes for you to be patient because he is not going to be perfect, especially when it comes to communication. And why? Because you mentioned it right there. Fear and anxiety. And so therefore for you, this is where your compassion comes in to understand this is the man that I have given my life to. He's a man who's fearful, and he's a man who has a high level of anxiety. And he is working on learning how to he reduce that so that he can be stronger for you. So therefore, and I understand you go to dorsal. I understand that that's where you are, but to be able to prepare yourself for those dialogues, those conversations before they start. And again, I think really is again, go back to again, my anger is back. What is that anger really about? And I think, if you look at it, it is again the fact that you feel very alone. Okay. You feel like, he left you behind. And now you're at a point where you're saying, no, you know what? Yes, I see the errors of my ways. I know what I did, but I want to be there for you. Will you allow me to? But you're right. You have to work on your anxiety to be able to allow that to happen at the same time. So,
Yeah, and if this was easy, like people would read a book and be on a different path. This is challenging stuff, and human interaction is messy. So, but glad you're here, and it's one day at a time, and we keep making progress. Okay, Dr. Ricky, my PA lives in denial and acts like he is just waiting for it to blow over and cannot communicate to me at all about what he's done, feels, thinks, why, nothing at all, no matter what I have told them about how I feel. D-Day was 11 months ago, and in June I did an in-house separation. Is there anything I can do to get him to communicate with me?
well, I mean, what you're saying here is that you've been trying to communicate to him and that is not working. Okay. Excuse me, that, even, I wonder what he's in denial about. I'm interested in that. And the idea that he's just waiting for it to all blow over tells me he doesn't quite understand betrayal trauma and what it's about. So therefore, if he's working with a therapist, what I'm saying is I want in on that session, on one or two sessions, to say, hey, you know what? Can you sit here and tell me, in front of him what I'm experiencing right now and why he should be fully investing in me there? So we can find out one, if he's in front of the right therapist who can help him, help you heal while he's still doing his own. But the one thing that really bothers me that you have here is that he's in denial. I don't know what that denial about. That has to get taken care of. But yeah, I think he doesn't quite understand the depth of your pain. I'm wondering if he's looking at it and saying, it's porn. I don't understand why you're so upset. I wasn't with someone else. And that could be what goes on. I hear that quite often.
So I'm hitting send, but we have a residential treatment program for guys like him. You didn't include, and I know it was a snippet, that he's done our porn addiction 101, work group. We have another one starting in January, that he's doing, 12 step, that he's doing any work, because the automatic go-to thing will be, I'm going to wait for this to blow over. Okay, we're staying in separate rooms, but I'm still in the house. So what is the plan? And you guys working with your qualified professionals, because just separating, if there's no plan of what I'm looking to see, if there's no communication about that, and I'm sure you're telling him, and I'm sure he's not hearing it. So having, like Dr. Eddie said, having the qualified professional that can help you translate that could be really helpful. So. We are out of time. I'm going to capture all of these, but you do a better job of it. But so now we have the ones from last month.
Can we do this one real fast this year?
Sure. Which one?
The first one that you have, the next
Okay,
one.
my partner and I have been together for 18 years. He has been, I can stay, but I know it's usually a schedule. My partner and I have been together for 18 years. He has been unfaithful, physically cheating for the entire duration. I just found out this year. We had our disclosure 2.5 months ago, and he's in group, individual therapy and SAA. I'm in therapy as well. I feel stuck though. Like I cannot move on towards healing. Is there hope? How do I get unstuck?
You are exactly where you should be right now. You should feel like you're almost stuck because 18 years and you just found out this year that he had been unfaithful the entire time. So therefore, it's like the whole thing was nothing but a facade. Your disclosure was only 2.5 months ago, right? What you need to focus on is again, being in therapy on a regular basis, being in a group on a regular basis, maybe going into the drop-in groups here. You just need a lot of community around you to help you get there, but you are in the early stages of all of this. Okay, there's a long road ahead because, like I said, to find out that your entire relationship, somebody really who's had another life, that just is heartbreaking. I'm very sorry for it. So, but it's going to take time. You're going to feel the way you do right now for quite some time, but surround yourself with good people who can help you.
Yes, yes, you are not alone. I will post real quick too that we have, all of the drop-in groups. Those are other betrayed partners, and you know, um, uh, and they're all hosted and all from a codependent lens. They're all hosted, so that there's a safe place. Just like there's separate ones for those struggling with the compulsive behaviors, but they really do, support you. We have, oh, here's another one. I will put this in there too. The empowered, we are super excited to offer the Empowered Women Retreat. That will be massive healing. The first one will be in Kentucky in January. We'll be in the Red River Gorge. It will be gorgeous. I'm going to hike there. And then we'll be in Austin in March. But those will be with a team of professionals to really a weekend with other women, empowered women. It's not about, just, focusing on him or the betrayal. It's about how do we, process through and move forward. So it'll be good. We're excited about those. So
So,
okay. Dr. Eddie, I put the name of the article, I put the link in the chat, so grab that.
excellent.
Yes, and so thank you so much. Have happy holidays to you and
Happy
your
holidays
family,
to you and everyone
and
else. Sorry we
we'll
couldn't
see
get to
you in
all your
January.
questions. We
Yes,
will.
I've copied them and I will add them to the list and we'll start fresh in January.
Okay. God
Thanks,
bless everyone.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.